night sky above Earth had always been a place of wonder. Children looked up and dreamed of stars. Lovers found comfort under the moon, and scientists worked day and night to understand the mysteries of space. But that night, wonder turned to terror. The stars began to vanish, not because of clouds, not because of storms, but because something darker was covering them. Shadows stretched across the sky as enormous shapes moved into orbit. One by one, thousands of alien warships filled the heavens, their metallic bodies gleaming like monsters of steel. People stepped out of their homes pointing at the sky in disbelief. The streets filled with silence broken only by whispers. What is that? And, are they here for us? The answer came quickly. From the largest ship, a signal was broadcast in every language on Earth. It played on radios, on televisions, on every device. The voice was cold, heavy, and merciless. People of Earth, you are now subjects of the Dominion. Surrender your world. Kneel, and you will live. Resist, and your planet will burn. The words spread like wildfire. In cities and villages, in remote places where people had never even seen a satellite, the message reached them. Children clung to their parents. Parents held each other's hands tighter. Leaders gathered in hidden bunkers, their faces pale, with fear. Humanity had seen wars before, great wars, world wars, endless wars, but never anything like this. This was not an enemy they could see face to face. This was not a battle fought with tanks and rifles. Above them floated a fleet that could shatter entire continents with a single command. The Dominion had done this before. For centuries they had traveled across the galaxy, conquering weaker species. To them, Earth was nothing special. Just another planet. Just another people too fragile to fight back. Every race they had crushed before had begged for mercy. Every race had bowed when the skies darkened. The Dominion expected nothing less from Earth. But Earth remained silent. For hours there was no response. No messages from world governments, no surrender calls, only silence. The alien commander sneered at the hesitation. To him, silence meant fear. He believed Earth was simply gathering its courage to kneel. Soon, he told his officers, they will crawl like the rest. But beneath the silence, something else was happening. Something the Dominion did not understand. Humanity was not gathering to beg. Humanity was gathering to endure. In secret bunkers, military leaders spoke in harsh whispers. Scientists reviewed plans long hidden from the public eye. Engineers checked old systems that had been buried deep underground, built during times when humans feared only each other. Now those weapons and machines were being remembered again, not for war between nations, but for survival against an enemy from the stars. Meanwhile, in the cities, ordinary people felt something burning in their hearts. Yes, they were afraid. Yes, they trembled at the sight of ships blotting out the heavens. But anger grew alongside fear. Families who had lost ancestors to human wars knew one truth well. Humanity never surrendered easily. The Dominion thought Earth would be like all the others. They thought humans would bow. They thought fear would break their spirit. But Earth had been hardened by struggle since the beginning of time. From fire and ice, from famine and plague, from endless wars, humanity had learned one lesson: survive, no matter the cost. So the world waited, silent and still, not because it was weak, but because it was watching, planning, and preparing. When the Dominion demanded Earth's chains, Earth gave no answer. Not yet, and in that quiet moment, something dangerous was born. Not surrender, not submission, but resolve. Humanity's silence was not the silence of fear. It was the silence before the storm. The Dominion had waited only a few hours before acting. They were used to obedience. They were used to fear. They were used to seeing entire worlds crumble at their first show of force. Earth, they believed, would be no different. In a flash of light brighter than the sun, the first strike hit. A massive beam of energy tore through the heart of a bustling city. Skyscrapers melted like wax under heat that should have been impossible. Roads cracked, vehicles exploded, and millions of innocent people screamed as chaos erupted. Families were torn apart. Children ran blindly, searching for parents who were gone in an instant. The alien commander observed from his bridge, a cruel smile on his face. "This is what happens to those who resist?" he said. His officers nodded, expecting the humans to fall to their knees begging for mercy. But humanity did not kneel. Humanity did not beg. Across the globe, news of the devastation reached every ear. Panic spread, but so did determination. Citizens who had spent their lives fearing disaster now found courage they never knew existed. Soldiers, engineers, doctors, and ordinary people alike realized something terrifying, and yet empowering. They could not rely on anyone else to save them. They had to save themselves. In the hidden bunkers beneath mountains and vast underground military complexes, humanity's true strength began to awaken. Ancient weapons, stored for times when the world's survival was at stake, were readied. Silos that had been dormant for decades opened with a hiss, revealing missiles that could level entire fleets. Scientists worked frantically, recalibrating old devices into new forms of destruction. Engineers welded, rewired, and upgraded, knowing there was no second chance. From the oceans, massive submarines rose to their positions, carrying weapons unknown to the aliens. Air forces scrambled jets upgraded with technology scavenged from decades of human ingenuity. Every nation, every corner of the planet, joined the fight in unison. Fear was still there, but it had transformed into something stronger: fury. When the humans finally struck, it was not a whisper of resistance. It was a roar that echoed through the void of space. Nuclear fire erupted from hidden silos, lighting up the atmosphere with a violent glow. Kinetic rods slammed into the alien ships, tearing holes through their once impenetrable hulls. The Dominion fleet, so confident just hours earlier, was suddenly staggering. Explosions rained from orbit like shooting stars of death, scattering debris across space. On the Dominion bridge, shock replaced arrogance. "Impossible," the commander whispered. Every strategy he had used to conquer worlds before was failing. Every weapon, every tactic, every expectation had been countered by a species they considered weak. On Earth, the survivors looked to the sky not in fear, but in grim determination. Yes, millions had perished. Yes, cities had burned. But the humans knew something the Dominion could never understand. Survival was not just about numbers, it was about will. And humanity's will burned brighter than any weapon the aliens had ever built. In that first battle, the Dominion learned a dangerous truth. They had faced resistance before, but never like this. They had fought armies that quaked in fear, civilizations that broke after a single strike. But these humans, these fragile, emotional, flawed humans, fought with a fury born from love, fear, and a stubborn refusal to die. And the Dominion began to realize something else, too. Earth would not surrender. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not ever. For every city that fell, every weapon launched in desperation, humanity responded with fire. For every life lost, the determination grew. And in the endless night above Earth, the stars themselves seemed to shine in warning. The humans had answered, and the storm had only just begun. The Dominion had thought the first strike would be enough. They had believed that fear would break Earth, that destruction would bring surrender, but they were wrong, very wrong. As the alien ships circled above, scanning for signs of submission, the people of Earth began to organize. The chaos of the attacks had sparked something unexpected, a unity that no invader could have predicted. Soldiers from every nation answered the call. Pilots climbed into their jets, submarines dove into oceans, and engineers worked tirelessly in secret facilities to create new weapons from old designs. Humanity was rising, and it was not rising to beg, it was rising to fight. In cities that had just been bombed, survivors crawled from the rubble. Fathers pulled children from crushed cars. Mothers carried infants through dust and smoke. The loss was immense, but the spirit was unbroken. Everywhere there were whispers of courage. We will not give up. We will not surrender. In command centers, generals and leaders realized that the humans' greatest weapon was not their bombs, their missiles, or their ships. It was their will. Every human being who had survived the first strike became a soldier, whether they had trained for it or not. Every act of survival became an act of defiance. Every heartbeat was a promise. We will not kneel. The Dominion, watching from above, could not comprehend it. They had conquered hundreds of worlds before, each with far greater populations, yet none had resisted like this. Their calculations had failed. They had assumed fear would suffice. They had assumed humanity would fall apart in panic. But Earth's people were proving that fear could be turned into fury, despair into determination, and death into courage. On the front lines, the fighting was brutal. Jets streaked through the sky, dodging alien lasers. Submarines launched torpedoes at massive ships in orbit. Engineers and scientists working in hidden bunkers activated ancient weapons long thought obsolete. Explosions lit the night sky. Flames licked at the clouds. The humans were relentless. Yet it was not mindless violence. Each strike was precise, each decision deliberate. They fought not to conquer but to survive. They fought to protect their families, their homes, their planet. Every human who stood against the Dominion knew the stakes. The cost was unimaginable. The price of failure was extinction. But in their eyes burned a light the aliens could not destroy. The light of defiance. Across the planet, in villages and cities alike, ordinary citizens joined in ways the Dominion never expected. Farmers sabotaged enemy supply lines. Scientists hacked alien communications. Children, too young to understand, war whispered courage into the hearts of those who fought. Humanity had become something the Dominion could not calculate, a species united not by rules or commands, but by hope, anger, and the will to live. And slowly, the tide began to turn, though the Dominion refused to admit it. Every alien ship that fell, every strike that failed, every resistance that survived became proof that Earth could not be crushed. The humans had survived the first attack, and now they were learning to strike back with strategy, intelligence, and fearlessness. The alien commander, once confident and unyielding, felt doubt creeping into his mind. These humans, he muttered. They fight differently. They fight with everything they have, and yet it is never enough to stop them. Perhaps we underestimated them. For the first time, the invaders understood that conquering Earth would not be easy. Every plan, every calculation, every strategy they had relied upon now seemed fragile. They had never faced a species that could turn despair into strength, fear into courage, and survival into an art of war. And as humans prepared for the battles to come, their resolve shone brighter than any weapon. They had lost much, yet their spirit had only grown. Earth would not bow. Earth would not surrender. Humanity had awakened, and the galaxy would soon learn that underestimating them was the gravest mistake any force could make. The human resolve was unyielding. It was furious. It was unstoppable, and the Dominion was only beginning to understand the danger of facing a species that refused to kneel. The Dominion had assumed victory was near. Every battle was meant to break humanity's spirit. Every strike was intended to make them bow. Yet as days turned into nights and nights into days, the alien commander began to sense something he had never expected. Resistance. Not just resistance, but strategy. Not just courage, but something far more dangerous. Human ingenuity. From every corner of the globe, hidden preparations were reaching their final stages. Deep underground, in bunkers long forgotten, massive doors rumbled open. Centuries old, weapons preserved for times of dire need, were readied for deployment. Engineers worked tirelessly, converting them into instruments of retaliation. Scientists coordinated launches from secret satellites, monitoring the alien fleet's weaknesses. Even ordinary citizens contributed, improvising tools and sending critical intelligence to the military. Humanity had transformed fear into an organized, unstoppable force. On the Dominion ships, the commander was growing uneasy. His advisors reported that their losses were mounting. Fleets that had once been unstoppable were now reduced to wreckage. Every tactic they had relied upon to conquer other worlds had failed against Earth. And yet, the humans had more. They had a weapon that no alien technology could predict. The Leviathan Protocol, whispered in secure channels among Earth's leaders, was the turning point. It was not one missile or a single bomb. It was a network of devastating weapons hidden across the planet, underground, undersea, and even in orbit. Each device was designed to obliterate massive targets, to tear apart fleets, to strike terror into any who dared to attack. No species in the galaxy had ever seen such an arsenal assembled with such precision. The aliens intercepted fragments of intelligence. They tried to understand, but every calculation failed. Earth's defenses were complex, adaptive, and hidden, and the humans themselves, strong, determined, unyielding, were the most dangerous element of all. Meanwhile, on Earth, the civilians who survived the first strikes were no longer running or hiding. They trained, they prepared, they volunteered for tasks that were unimaginable days ago. Children learned to listen and report. Adults took weapons into their hands, and every person became part of the resistance. In every destroyed city, every ruined street, humanity was forging itself into a single, unbreakable force. The Dominion launched a massive assault, hoping to destroy the hidden bases before the Leviathan could awaken. Their beams struck mountains, oceans, and deserts, leveling cities in their path. But each strike revealed only more resilience. Humans adapted, weapons were relocated, communications scrambled, and defenses strengthened. Every attempt to anticipate their moves failed. The aliens were learning, slowly and painfully, that this planet was different. On the command bridge, the alien commander felt an unfamiliar sensation: fear. His officers were stunned by Earth's ability to endure, adapt, and counterattack. How can a single planet fight like this?" he muttered. His voice was almost trembling. "This is no ordinary species. They are mad." And in that madness, the humans had found strength. They were no longer reacting, they were planning. No longer fearing, they were striking. Every action the Dominion took only revealed more about their arrogance. Every attack that failed only strengthened the resolve of those fighting below. The galaxy had expected Earth to fall, to beg, to submit. Instead, Earth had revealed its heart. A heart unbroken, fierce, and terrifying. The Dominion's confidence was slipping. The first cracks had appeared in their fleet. And somewhere, deep in the mountains and oceans of Earth, the Leviathan Protocol waited silently, ready to turn the tide into something unstoppable. In that moment, a truth became clear. The humans would not only survive, they would make the galaxy pay for underestimating them. And the Dominion had no idea how much fire they were about to face. The Dominion had expected Earth to surrender. They had expected fear to silence the humans. But now they were about to face something far worse: humanity's full wrath. The Leviathan Protocol was activated. Deep underground, in the oceans, and in orbit, Earth's hidden weapons came alive. A network of destruction that no alien fleet had ever encountered began to move with deadly precision. Each missile, each bomb, each beam was aimed not just to defend, but to annihilate. Humanity had decided, if they could not live in peace, the invaders would pay in fire. The sky above was ablaze with human ingenuity. Massive rods plunged through the void of space, striking alien ships with explosive force. Satellites released kinetic projectiles, tearing through hulls with the power of a small sun. From hidden launch sites, nuclear warheads erupted, lighting the darkness with brilliance that burned into the void itself. Alien shields, once considered impenetrable, shattered under the unrelenting assault. The Dominion commander's arrogance was replaced by panic. His carefully calculated strategies were failing. Fleets that had conquered hundreds of worlds were being shredded in minutes. Smoke and fire lit the cosmos as alien vessels crumpled like paper under human firepower. On Earth, humanity watched from hidden bunkers and command centers. Their eyes were red with sleepless nights, but their hearts burned with resolve. Every life lost, every city destroyed by the first strikes had been paid in blood, but now the price was being repaid tenfold. Humans had turned fear into fury. They had turned grief into strength. Soldiers in space stations coordinated attacks like never before. Pilots dodged alien lasers with precision, while engineers hacked enemy systems mid-battle to turn their weapons against them. Submarines launched, missiles from beneath the waves, striking the orbiting fleet with pinpoint accuracy. Even civilians contributed, guiding supplies, monitoring communications, and keeping the heart of Earth beating in defiance. The Dominion could not comprehend it. Every calculation failed. Every prediction was wrong. Humanity was not just surviving. They were striking back with intelligence, strategy, and terrifying courage. The alien commander watched as the first wave of his fleet disintegrated. "Impossible," he hissed. Ships that should have been invincible were gone. Fleets that should have crushed humanity were in flames. His soldiers were panicked, whispering of retreat, but the commander's pride refused to yield. Yet deep inside he knew. Earth was not a world to conquer. It was a force of nature, and humanity was the storm. As the battle raged, the stars themselves seemed to tremble. Explosions lit the darkness like fireworks in hell. Shattered vessels tumbled through space, leaving trails of burning metal behind. And through it all, the humans remained unbroken, their focus absolute, their determination unshakable. No other species in the galaxy had ever fought like this. None had endured the first strike, only to strike back with such precision and fury. The Dominion's arrogance, built over centuries, was being destroyed in a single, unstoppable wave of human fire. And on Earth, as the weapons fired and the skies burned, a quiet, unspoken truth spread through every bunker, every command center, every surviving human. The galaxy had underestimated them. The humans were not just fighting to survive. They were fighting to show the universe what it meant to face a species that refused to bow, refused to beg, and refused to die. In the endless void above Earth, fire rained across the stars. The Dominion fleet, once proud and unchallenged, was being turned to ash. And humanity, battered but unbroken, had shown the first signs of what true power could look like, not just in weapons, but in will. The galaxy war. In the bunkers and command centers, leaders walked among the survivors. They did not celebrate. The losses were too great, the scars too deep. But they looked into the eyes of those who remained, and they saw something extraordinary. Courage, unbroken, resolve unshaken, and a determination that would never die. The Dominion had expected submission, but it had received annihilation. Entire fleets had been destroyed, ships that had conquered hundreds of worlds reduced to fragments. Their pride, arrogance, and confidence were shattered. For the first time in their history, a species had not only resisted, they had destroyed what was sent to subdue them. Across the globe, whispers of the victory spread. People who had hidden in fear emerged to help the wounded. Strangers shared what little they had. Communities rebuilt, not for comfort, but for survival. Humanity was battered, but its spirit was alive. Its people had seen death and destruction, and yet they refused to bow. They had stared into the face of extinction and met it with fire. The alien commander's voice came through one last faint transmission, trembling with disbelief and rage. How? How is this possible? They are not supposed to fight like this. They should have fallen. We underestimated them. No one replied. There was no one left to respond. The Dominion fleet had vanished, leaving only silence. The universe had witnessed something unprecedented. A planet that had faced annihilation and answered with devastation, far greater than its attackers could imagine. And yet humanity did not feel victorious. The cost had been unimaginable. Every child lost, every city burned, every life ended. It weighed on every human heart. But in their grief they found something stronger than sorrow. Resolve. They would rebuild. They would endure. They would ensure that the galaxy would never again consider them weak. Across Earth, as dawn broke over scorched cities and shattered landscapes, People looked to the sky. They saw the stars once more, scattered and scarred, yet still shining. And in that sight a quiet promise was made in every human heart. We have survived the impossible. We will not be forgotten. We will not be defeated again. The silence was not just the absence of sound, it was the presence of something more profound. It was the echo of defiance. It was the proof that the human's will had triumphed over a force the galaxy had believed unstoppable. The storm had passed, but its memory would last forever, and somewhere deep in space other civilizations began to whisper the same thing. Do not challenge Earth. Do not test their strength. They have survived what no one else could, and they will answer with fire. Earth had paid a terrible price, but it had emerged as a legend. The galaxy would remember this silence, the silence after the storm, as the moment humanity became a force to be feared, respected, and never underestimated. In the quiet aftermath, the humans stood together, not as soldiers, not as leaders, not as conquerors, but as survivors. And from the ruins they began to rebuild, not just cities, but a promise to the universe that Earth would remain free and humanity would endure. Years had passed since the skies burned and the Dominion fleet lay in ruins. The scars of war were etched into the earth itself. Cities once filled with life were now skeletons of stone and steel. Forests charred, oceans scarred, and skies still carried the faint smell of fire. Humanity had paid an unbearable price, yet it had survived. And survival was only the beginning. The people of Earth did not forget what had happened, nor did they forget the lesson they had learned. They had stared into the face of annihilation and refused to bow. Every child born after that day grew up hearing stories not of despair but of courage. Stories of fathers who fought to the last breath, mothers who protected the innocent at every cost, and neighbors who became heroes in moments that demanded greatness. These stories were the foundation of a new world, a world tempered by fire and bound by resolve. Across the galaxy, whispers of Earth's defiance spread like wildfire. Empires, once arrogant and cruel, spoke in hushed tones of the world that had dared to resist them. No starfaring civilization approached too closely. No conqueror dared to test its strength. In hidden councils and secret chambers, leaders admitted a truth they had once dismissed. Humanity was not weak, and Earth was not a planet to conquer. On the surviving battlefields, humanity rebuilt not with celebration, but with determination. Every destroyed city became a symbol of resilience. Every life lost became a reason to strengthen their defenses, to teach future generations the value of courage and unity. Engineers worked tirelessly to rebuild the infrastructure. Soldiers trained the next generation. Communities rose from the ashes not just to survive, but to ensure that Earth would never again be threatened so easily. Even the alien commander, though humiliated and defeated, could not forget what had happened. He had faced countless species, led fleets that had crushed worlds, yet none had ever fought like these humans. The memory haunted him, not just the destruction, but the terrifying will behind it. He had underestimated them, and he knew the galaxy would never make the same mistake again. Back on Earth, the humans carried their own understanding. Power alone was not what had saved them. It was the refusal to surrender. It was the courage to act when all seemed lost. It was the love for home, family, and species that made them stronger than any weapon. Humanity had learned that even in the face of impossible odds, the strength of will could surpass the might of empires. Children grew up knowing that their ancestors had faced destruction and answered with fire. They learned that fear could be transformed into strength, despair into courage, and death into purpose. And in every school, every village, and every city, a single lesson was repeated. Earth would never bow, and humanity would never be broken. In the centuries that followed, Earth became a symbol, not of war, not of violence, but of warning and respect. Across the galaxy, no fleet dared approach its orbit. Traders whispered, scholars recorded, and explorers remembered. The humans of Earth had fought, and they had won. And so the legacy of Earth was secured. Not by conquest, not by diplomacy, but by unyielding will. The galaxy learned that the most dangerous weapon was not missiles or lasers, it was humanity itself. The fire that burned in the hearts of men and women had defended a planet, shaped a species, and forged a legend that would never fade. On a quiet evening, when the sky was clear and the stars shone like diamonds, humans looked up as they always had. Only now they did not look in fear or awe, they looked with pride. Their planet was still theirs, their people still alive, and their spirit unbroken. And somewhere deep within their hearts, they knew this truth. The galaxy had learned to fear Earth, for Earth had answered, and it had done so with complete destruction.